Hello, mystery seekers, and welcome to the Mystery Served. The question is the Earth a prison planet that we were brought to by alien beings? Some have wondered if perhaps the Earth is not a planet prison where humans exist because they were brought by alien beings. This is a theory that many people believe, and I felt compelled to share because the connections are obvious and the test difficult to ignore. Much of this theory is based on the fact that humans are the only beings on Earth with a tendency to turn easily with a natural food aversion, with high rates of chronic disease and high rate of infantry mortality. At least it was like this in the past. Nothing seems to be able to question what is scientifically accepted by hominids that existed long ago on the Earth, and in the reverse when it comes to the Homo sapiens or the Cro-Magnon man or modern man. We are the descendants of the ancient inhabitants of Earth who were confined to isolation to prevent mental illness, killings and crime spread, and yet we still have these attitudes like our ancestors, because like them we cannot escape to the fact that we can have a mental illnesses and criminal behavior. No one is the fault for these inevitable features of human nature due to different genetic causes. This part of the man who was attracted by violence does not escape lust, vengeance, robbery, and even massacres and murders. It is unthinkable, but still is precisely our own species that causes these horrors. Or will I decide we still kill, we violate, and if is we not enough, we claim to dominate our natural resource and contaminate them. It does seem that nothing can escape the horrors that we inflict to ourselves, to our species, and to other living beings on the planets or to distant interplanetary civilizations. Universal peace is threatened by man because of his murderous and profane custom, but it would seem that the Earth is a strategic planet carefully chosen for its composition of forms of life and sustenance. The theory that Earth is a prison planet suggests that our ancestors were scattered in remote places in continents with different climates, with a careful selection of colors, dimensions, forms, and languages. The memories were erased before being placed on the Earth. It was believed that if survival had been possible among the prisoners, they would have existed relations would have been created between them, procreating with the species of the Earth. How wrong they were. Humans immediately began to dominate the Earth, which led to the Cro-Magnons and the Neanderthals almost extinguishing after a few thousand years those that had reached the surface of the Earth for 200,000 years. Initially, the exile of Cro-Magnons worked how it was planned, but the sudden change in the course of the events showed that all the hypotheses were wrong. The main state of prisoners was impossible to fulfill since our ancestors began to build a low-scale interplanetary civilizations. Now the Earth, as we see, is the result of a story of men who demonstrated excellence in their skills in fields such as architecture, the written arts, written languages, agriculture, the breeding of animals, advanced mathematics and physics, religion, governments, and technologies. But men did not create other way of living. Instead, they systematically manipulated, destroying each other. Furthermore, the Earth is witnessing the ferocity of modern man. But what does he see today about the incredible development in our ancestors in terms of intelligence and technology? The evidence reveals that genetic memory was the causes of intellectual reveals, instead of progress causing a strong debate on different assumptions about this. Others believe that our ancestors were immediately exterminated before they remembered genetically, while others never doubted that our ancestors would be destroyed themselves and reduce their development. It was a dead end, and additional contacts were not allowed, even if there were agreements in the surveillance of the prison planets as well as assistance. Some restrictions were established. What is remarkable is that the most significant advances in the history of the Earth for the last 10 million years happened when our ancestors revived and when the annihilation of the Neanderthals began. Of course, not everyone will agree on how the ancestral were eliminated from the planet, but who knows? The answer of the unknown is still present. While we are on the subject that the Earth is a prison planet, what is the possibility that somehow, in some way, maybe we are aliens on this Earth we call our planet? We humans always think about the origin of our species and the fundamental questions: who am I? Where do I come from? Where the causes of endless debates between scientific studies and religious belief. Not all answers to this question are equally valid, however. They are interesting enough. Some answers lead to speculation that can make you ask, what if the perfect example was the hypothesis of the planet's prison, where humans were exiled aliens to the Earth because of their inability to behave according to rules of the aliens and their utopias? Dr. Elio Silva talks about this subject in great detail in his book Humans Are Not From the Earth, a scientific evaluation of evidence. Although he was labeled an American ecologist when the book was published, there were no publications or university research related to his project on cleaning the Pacific from plastic waste. If you are skeptical about the source of these theories, perhaps you have asked yourself a question about the theory that the Earth is a unique and rare system. In the Silver's book explains that humans are alien beings, according to what the evidence suggests, considering how humans have adapted to industrial environments. Some examples include human tendency to tan easily, high infant mortality rates, and well as chronic disease and aversion to natural foods. Silver also said during an interview with Yahoo News that there is a feeling present among many people who do not think they belong to this planet, or that something simply does not work in the right way. Even if the doubts still remain because they have confined to Earth. According to Dordelis, the violent nature of human race is the answer. Until human will not learn to act in a primary state, we will somehow condemned for eternity on this prison planet, and we will never be able to go home. Who could support this observation by Dr. Silver with real evidence? There is a skepticism on these theories, since most of these arguments are based on selective readings on the difference between species. For example, compare humans to lizards for their ability to stay in the sun without burning. Silver believes that the reason humans burn in the sun is not because we have no hair on our skin. It's clear that there are many animals among the mammals without scales, furs, or feathers or that cover them, like elephants, rhinos, sailors whose skin doesn't burn. The reason why he believes this is because we are not originally from this planet, we are simply brought here. Other evidence is the similarity of 19% between chimpanzees and humans in genetic compositions. This fact suggests that we share an evolutionary history that dates back 5 or 6 million years. Furthermore, the inhabitants of the Earth have common metabolism and genetics. This, according to Dr. Venerable, a bioinformatic from the Max Planck Institute, suggests that most likely universal ancestors once existed, and that all living things are related to each other, and rejects Silver's thesis only with this as evidence. There was also a study that reveals a decline in infant mortality that shows that some causes could have been in the past diseases and factors of malnutrition. The structure of the human brain, which appears to have been well designed to respond to cannabis, is also highlighted, which is on the other side of the planet. You might think these are just coincidence, or maybe we have aliens who are sympathetic with us. The basis of Dr. Silver's theory is obvious. We see a similarity with biblical claims and precedent in our history. In the Bible, it is said that we were banished from heaven. Humans condemned to live a sinful life on earth. The only way to reach paradise is live in harmony, peacefully, without doing harm to other beings. Our history also established a similar image when the British used both Australia and North America as a solution for British prisoners. In criminal colonies, criminals were slaves to innumerable plantation owners. If you consider chaos and violence on the planet, would you consider it as hell or as an extraterrestrial prison? You could hardly say that life on Earth is perfect, but the randomness of the existence is not something we can even call a prison. But again, is it? Are we the human species of the Earth? It doesn't matter how do you think about it. There seem to be another planets in our galaxy. If we exist on the Earth just like our ancestors, perhaps other planets can have a forms of life that perhaps have gone unnoticed to our attention. Or will the ability to detect our existence and if it is true, how would we not ask ourselves if we are aliens imprisoned on Earth? Is the Earth a prison planet? A significant number of people believe that there is no concrete evidence, scientific or otherwise, on the fact that modern humans evolved on Earth and that our human ancestors already exist 50 or 60,000 years ago because of exile or imprisonment. Scientists will not accept it until there is solid concrete evidence, and therefore only hypotheses, assumptions, and new ideas, their opinion will change. One thing is certain, and is that the probability is extreme of the fact that somewhere in the universe there is life. Speaking logically, there is the possibility that life cannot have been a random event in the universe, and so we can summarize that if a tree is on there must the teleforce were. Considering that it is a planet with environment and climatic considerably similar to those of the Earth, the life we know is perhaps the same for other forms, maybe even in the past experiencing that possibility that perhaps we did not evolve here on the Earth, and their origins as well as our genetics is not terrestrial. Their evidence and circumstances, do they guide us toward the likelihood that we ever actually be experiencing the Earth? It was necessary to isolate humans with violent tendencies and mental instability. Then they were insisted, selected, and imprisoned in exile. When new our ancestors were exiled here on Earth, conditions would have been established that would include limited memories for prisoners without technology or tools allowed. The position of prisoners on the planet would be high-end with a climate similar to the original planets. However, it was strictly forbidden to help conducting or interfering with development, and there would be a great distance between integrated civilization is the prison planet. Finally, there would be a lot of periodic monitoring and assistance among prisoners. When the plan to isolate our ancestors was made, there was hope that somehow nature would continue its course and solve our problems. But we are here. Our ancestors are gone, and human nature continues to be as unpredictable as it was always been. And now, to close, a warm hug to all, and as always, goodbye from Mr. Served.